Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and guys, I come back with that second video just to make you think. And this is Max Igan speaking about leadership and all of us holding ourselves accountable for the situation that we put ourselves in. So guys, please enjoy the video.
Nobody can turn you into a slave unless you allow them. Nobody can make you afraid of anything unless you allow them. Nobody can tell you to do something wrong unless you allow them. God never created you to be a slave. Man did. God never created division or set up any borders between brothers. Man did. God never told you to hurt or kill one another. Man did. So why is man your God and not the Creator? We have to pay attention to what's going on. We have to realize that all of the schism and all of the problems that have been created on this planet are our problems, and only we can deal with them, because it is only we who have allowed them to happen. We've allowed them to happen because we got distracted. There are so many means that are put in place to do this, folks. There are so many mechanisms that are used. And one of the main ones is food, folks. Have you seen how the food has changed? Have you noticed how the food has changed in the last few decades? Even the sweets and lollies that the kids eat, folks. Remember, these things used to be full of sugar. You'd drop one on the ground and within a minute it would be covered in ants and insects, eager to eat the sugar in the lolly. But now you drop a lolly or a sweet on the ground and the insects won't go near it because the ingredients have changed. But modern food, folks, modern bread, modern anything from a packet that you drop on the ground, it's very rare that the ants will cover the food and rush to consume it the way they used to. In fact, none of nature seems very interested in eating anything that comes from a packet anymore. And yet people within society consume all of these prepackaged foods all the time, never noticing that nothing else will eat them, unless they're absolutely forced to. And people have become addicted to this prepackaged and artificially sweetened food. Very noticeable test that they did, folks. They got prepackaged, very, very low grade, artificially enhanced food, and they fed it to rats. Essentially, they were feeding them the sort of food that your average household consumes. And then they stopped feeding them this food and put real food back in front of them, and the rats had become so addicted to the pre-packaged, artificially sweetened food that they actually preferred to starve themselves to death rather than eat real, nutritious food. And so this is the effect that this food is having upon our society, and most especially upon the younger generation. You see, it's affecting them both biologically and psychologically. And this is a very, very dangerous state to be in, and it's imperative that we start turning things around.
The media is doing such an incredible job of eliminating all dissenting voices, failing to report the truth, failing to report anything objective or look at anything objectively, failing to do any true journalism at all, and completely selling the lie to the people. We've had an announcement, I think, by Westpac Bank that they will soon be refusing to accept cash deposits. By the end of the month, or perhaps by the end of next month, they're going to be refusing to accept cash deposits. They're just really pushing things, folks, as much as they can. And they're doing it from all directions. That's the problem, you know, they're doing it from all directions, and they're really pushing towards this whole cashless system, which again is all AI. It's going to take us unifying and pushing back in the right way to heal this situation that we're in. And the way to do it is to disconnect from the matrix, folks. I've been saying for years, throw away your smartphone and throw away your credit card. A lot of people say, well, I wouldn't be able to look at your show if I didn't have a smartphone. Well, you know, you can get a home computer. You don't need to carry this tracking device with you everywhere you go. You know, you could find your way around your own community without using a GPS to do it. You could shop with cash and not with credit cards. You know, we could have done these things, and we still can do these things.
We can still find a way out of this mess, but it's going to take global participation of people, because that's what freedom is, folks. It's an individual choice. It's personal responsibility. No one's going to save you. No one has any plan that you can buy into that is going to save you. we have to save ourselves. But we have to be prepared to do so, and before we can do that, we must first, of course, fully realize who and what we actually are. There is no one way out of this problem. Ultimately, there are 7 billion ways out of the problem because there are 7 billion people on the planet, and each one of them must find their own way through, because ultimately the path that each of them must discover is the path to themselves, the path to their own heart. That's what freedom is, folks. It's self-responsibility. 100% self-responsibility, 100% liability for your actions. I've often said, folks, that nothing is impossible. The only thing that is impossible is that which you believe to be impossible. We can literally create anything we want. There's far too much disempowerment in the movement. There's far too much division in the movement. There's far too many people trying to sell their own ideas, and there's far too little unity. We're facing some very, very difficult situations in the planet. We're facing a very, very uncertain future at the moment. And the only way we can fix it is by participating in the world around us, participating in ourselves. And you see, that's the thing, folks. Most people don't participate in themselves because they don't know what they are. They think they are something else. They think they are whatever they perceive themselves to be in the virtual world that they live in. They think that they are what their life brings them, or they are what they own, or they are what they look like. And they don't ever discover their true self, the true beauty of themselves, the power that they have, the fact that they are created with equal standing, the same as everybody else. I believe that consciousness and the planet and reality itself are all in a state of transition.
Really examining their plan Bs and making sure they've got a plan B in place. That's the grim reality of the situation, folks. You've got to have a plan B. I mean, sure, I see this as a huge opportunity to wake people up and a huge opportunity for human freedom. But by the same token, you've got to face the likelihood that a lot of people are simply not going to wake up. This is a war, folks. There's a war going on. It's been waged for a long time. It's a war that's being waged, against us by the controlling hand. It's a war of depopulation. The interface that we can actually use to combat this war is the government system, the politicians. They're only able to get away with it through our fear of them and our fear of what they write on paper and call law, and we just go along with this stuff. Crazy. It's important to see how society has been set up for this fall. I actually called this back in 2008 when I said, World War III has already started. It's a war of depopulation, and we're being set up for a massive cull by the codependency, the interdependency between nations, the way the supply chains have been set up, and the way people have been packed into major cities. We're being set up for a cull. And we've got to that point now. I've been warning people. I've been saying, look, there's a train coming, and you've got to get off the tracks. And people are still on the tracks, still arguing about the shape of the tracks or whatever. And the train is hit now. So either we seize this opportunity to become free, or we face the reality that a lot of people simply aren't going to do it, which is why you need to have a plan B. Ignorance is a choice these days, folks. I mean, really, if people are not aware of the information out there and they're not aware of what's going on, really it's their choice. You've done your best, we've all done our best, and as important as it is to continue to attempt to wake people up, it's also important to look after yourself and to get yourself to high ground and to have a plan B in place. If you have to leave your family, if you have to leave your friends behind, be prepared to do that. Because if it comes down to the wire, that's what it's going to take. The sleeping masses will lead the rest of the people into the slaughter pit simply by matter of course. And we can sit there and pull at their hands and tug at their sleeves all we like, but eventually we'll just get dragged in there with it if we don't have a plan B. And just be ready to bug out if the situation arises.